Okay, let's get started. We'll receive and file the May 3rd meeting notes. Anyone with a motion to do that?
Make a motion, Kimberly from Hawthorne.
Okay, great. So May 3rd meeting notes received and filed. So the first presentation, we have an update from our Spotlight service providers. Courtney, you want to start?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Anna's going to present today. We're going to provide an update on our ongoings since our last meeting in May. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Anna. I'm the program manager for Path Outreach Team. You can get started, Ron. Thank you. So on the picture here, we have our small little outreach team, which includes Courtney and myself, and then we have Jenny and Megan. Jenny and Megan are our remaining team members, and they've been diligently working out both SD2 and SD4. We service, for those who are not familiar with the program, we service single adult individuals from the ages of 25 and above. We help with screenings for CES, housing, ongoing supportive case management services, interim housing referrals, and housing voucher assistance as well. Next slide. This is our tentative schedule for outreach. Again, we only have 2 team members, so the schedule does change frequently due to appointments, unit viewings, unit move-ins, and stuff like that. But for the most part, these are the cities where we are in these days of the week. Next slide. Our first success story for today is Ashley. Ashley was a direct referral from Jonas Hahn's office. We worked proactively from the very beginning with Ashley, with her case manager. She was very eager to find housing. She would even conduct unit viewings on the weekends. She even found a roommate for herself through a mutual friend, and she, with the help of her Path case manager, sorry, she was able to move in successfully in the month of May. The case manager assisted both of them with like the roommate agreement form, the unit application, making sure the lease agreement was well, and we assisted Ashley with her portion of the moving costs and even some furniture. And now Ashley is able to fully focus on her school, which she has been doing since we met her as well. Next slide. Our next success story is for Brian. We met Brian during an outreach in the city of Torrance. From the very beginning, we knew Brian was very eager to find housing as well. He was very active with our case management team. He requested our assistance to obtain a security guard card, which he finally obtained, and was then able to find a full-time job, better income, and then that led him to find a unit on his own in Ontario. He does not need further assistance. We only assisted him with the security deposit, which we understand is a burden for many of individuals. And now he states to be feeling more motivated to do better for himself, but also for his daughter. He has a 2-year-old daughter. He would like to share that home with one day. Next slide. These are some of the community connections that we've had throughout the months. We continue going to Lomita McCoy. There are still individuals there even after the event for the Inside Safe. We go to Gardena, Lawndale, Hermosa, Segundo, Carson, Torrance, and the 101 in Irwin location in Lenox, borderlines with Inglewood. We attend homeless court every last Wednesday of each month. We coordinate with the police departments in Gardena, Redondo, El Segundo, Lawndale, and Carson. And we also work with the local shelters listed on there. Next slide. A little more details on some of the community connections. In Lawndale, we'll continue doing joint outreaches with the city officials, but also some of the sheriffs, they'd like to join our outreaches as well. Sometimes they find hotspots that are not very easy to spot for us. So they guide us and they also provide some safety for us in case there's a location that's known to be of a safety concern. They do remain in the background, but they're always there for our support when and if needed. We also do joint outreaches with the city staff of Carson and Torrance on a weekly basis. We go through all the cities that their city borders and any other locations they find to be somewhat of a hotspot as well. In the Gardena Joint Outreach, we have a joint outreach between Harbor Interfaith, LASA, Mental Health America, and our outreach team. We do this on a bi-weekly basis, but we go out to 190th and Normandy or other little locations around the area as well. As previously mentioned, we also join the joint outreaches in 101 in Irwin every other Thursday. And then also we have established a joint outreach with the Venice Family Clinic physicians. They outreach the city of Gardena with us on a bi-weekly basis to provide medical attention on the streets. Next slide. So again, we continue using the LA Hops website. Next slide. For the month of May and June, I don't know why the reason. I mean, it could be that we have more direct referrals from cities now, and maybe that's why LA Hop numbers have been going down. But for the month of May and June, we only received 10 referrals in total. 2 from the city of Carson, 1 from the city of Gardena, 6 from the city of Torrance, and 1 from the city of Lomita. We're noticing that most of the referrals are coming from either city officials or the police departments as well. So I'm not sure what the trend is recently, but not a lot of residents have been using LA Hub lately. Our current caseload consists of 47 individuals between 2 staff. There are 10 seniors in our caseload from SD2 and 6 seniors from our caseload in SD4. We have 4 pending approval for permanent housing, and we have 3 pending for project-based housing. There's a new match that has arisen, and so we're just waiting for the official confirmation if the individuals got the units or not. We have had 39 outreach interactions, and out of those 39 interactions, 7 have led to new enrollments. All right, and these are our numbers for our current outcomes so far. For mental health, both SD2 and SD4, we have had 4 obtained, but we've had 15 referrals from SD4 and 28 referrals from SD2. For primary care, we've had 7 individuals obtain primary care in SD4 and 15 obtained in SD2. For substance dependency, we've only had 2 obtained in SD4 and 4 obtained in SD2. 2 individuals have increased their income as SD4 and 4 in SD2, and 12 individuals have been housed in both SD4 and SD2. Some of our current efforts this year, our loss of interim housing referrals are at 8 at the moment. We've had 15 referrals to Bridge Housing, 12 to DMH or DHS's interim housing, 27 to Safe Parking, and 18 to Tiny Homes, and that includes Tiny Homes in Harbor City, Torrance, and the Palace Shelters in Redondo. For vouchers, we surprisingly had 1 new match in the month of May, and we had 1 new issuance in the month of June. Some of the challenges we've had are staffing difficulties. As I mentioned before, we are only working with 2 team members for our outreach team. Singular shelter availability, lack of interim housing availability, low affordable housing availability, especially for seniors, lack of comprehensive education on vouchers available to landlords, and low availability on ADA accessible units as well have been other challenges that we've encountered. That was all from us.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Any questions for Anna? Also, make sure to, if you haven't done so, go ahead in the chat and put, if you want to introduce yourself, who you are and where you're from, that would be great. Jackie, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is anybody tracking the number of days that you are understaffed in a year? Just so that we can have statistics to tell the county. I know that staffing is a huge problem, but it might be good for us to keep some record of how many days you actually have your full staff component in a year.
I mean, we have that information. We have it. We're not like not like on a spreadsheet, but we could get that.
I think it would be good for Ronson to have, just so that when we're in discussions, we can talk about the successes that we are having with the staff that we have and what we could do if we were fully staffed.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Great. If there's no other questions, we can turn it over to Sherry Weaver with Harbor Interfaith. Sherry?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully everybody survived the 4th and maybe got an hour or two sleep after all the fireworks. So we are at the end of our fiscal year for 2022, 2023, starting a new fiscal year starting July 1st. So interim housing sites, San Pedro Interim Housing, which is our 40-bed site. We currently have 4 vacancies and 19 placements. San Pedro, a Bridge Home, that's our 100-bed site. We have 0 vacancies and 37 housing placements. Redondo Beach Pallet, we have 0 vacancies, and that's our 20-unit site and 12 permanent housing placements. And then Torrance Pallet Shelter, which is our 40-unit site, we have 3 vacancies, 18 permanent housing placements. And one real quick update too, we are in conversations with Redondo Beach and DHS to increase the number of units at Redondo Beach by 20. So hopefully by the end of this year, we will have those 20 new units at that particular site. And the other thing too, I just kind of wanted to bring out is we do have a nice healthy amount. I'm never going to say too much, but we've got lease ups coming up for some PSH projects that are opening up. Sage Point Link Housing being one, which is 56 units that'll be opening up in Wilmington, and that is for seniors at 55 plus. And then Beacon Landing, which I'm actually working with that particular team. They will have 88 units of permanent supportive housing, which is conveniently located literally across the street from the San Pedro ABH site. So excited about those 2 projects opening up. For the individual system, we had 62 people that were permanently housed through time limited subsidies. We had another 82 individuals that were permanently housed through housing navigation and our outreach teams. And then we had another 55 that were permanently housed through our 3 independent city contracts through the beach cities. So we got quite a few individuals off the streets and permanently housed. Our transitional age youth, or the youth program, we had 29 youth enrolled, of which we had 19 permanently housed, and we've got some other ones that are in the pipelines. I'm just waiting to obtain the leases for through our time limited subsidy program. And then for our family system, we had a total of 127 households that were housed, permanently housed. And then we had another 51 that were provided services through prevention, which allowed them to retain their current housing, or if an eviction took place, that were actually able to obtain permanent housing. And then just kind of want to wrap things up today, talk a little bit about Inside Safe. As many of you know, this is Mayor Bass's initiative to bring folks from some of these larger, more densely populated encampments. For SPA 8, we targeted 2 encampments, one of which was Lomita and McCoy, which is in Harbor City, and then 5 Points, which is near Harbor Regional Park in San Pedro. So we had between May 31st and June 2nd, we were supposed to have 2 days of outreach. We stretched it out to 3. But we had teams from Harbor Interfaith, La Sajette team, Path MHA multidisciplinary team, and we also had staff from CD15, SD4, and the mayor's office working during those times. During the course of 3 days, we moved 62 people into 3 hotel sites, and then another 6 individuals were moved into interim housing. We had, in addition to that, we had 13 cats and 12 dogs that were housed with their owners. I always have to bring that up because I know a lot of times that creates a barrier for people coming off the streets. The first kitty I picked up, I found out that it came from a family of 7. So all 7 came in their crate and they moved into one of the rooms. But we were able to get them also housed. Since being at the hotels, we've actually had 1 permanent housing placement since we opened up. 13 people have been seen by Department of Mental Health. 16 people have been assisted by DPSS through benefit enrollment. Had a number of people that we've shuttled back and forth to DMV and the Social Security office. And then tomorrow between 10 and 2, we'll be hosting a housing fair at the Monterey Inn, which is one of our hotel sites. So that will be through LASA, Path Lease Up, and then also a couple of contractors that we're working with to really put on a site. So hopefully the goal tomorrow will be getting our folks that are document ready. They have their ID, they have their social security card, and if needed be verification of disability. In this particular case, Path Lease Up will have some open units that they'll be able to go out and do an open house tour of. So that'll be happening tomorrow. And then our staff just that are working at the sites right now, we're really honed in on getting folks document ready. So making sure that as these new units, whether they're PSH, whether they're Path Lease Up, whether they're, scattered site within the communities, that our folks at these hotels are document ready to go. And that way there is no holdups or bottlenecks when it come time for permanent housing to avail itself. We are working with some health clinics too, so we can make sure that our disability verifications are completed. And then also too, I wanted to kind of lift up that we've only had 3 people that have exited the program, which is actually pretty doggone good considering the population that we're serving. 2 of those were for non-compliance, actually safety reasons. And then 1 who was there one day and was not the next, and we have not been able to locate that person. So we are looking for that person, and we'll go from there. But I really want to thank Matt Marash, who has been the coordinator for this particular project. He has been amazing. I always have to guess which hotel he's at and what he's doing, but he's really done some amazing work, and really just want to thank him for that. And that's my report.
Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, I wasn't there at the Lamita McCoy cleanup. Lori was there in my place, and yeah, it sounded like an amazing engagement. And kudos to your team. In our care coordination meeting for Spot A, Brian had a lot of props for the kind of the work that he did. Again, also on your team, and Matt as well. So just heard a lot of great things about that engagement. So good job, guys. Well, our fearless leaders here, Councilmember Tanaka.
Sorry,
I
Ron.
kept
So
her
yeah,
seat warm.
I'm with our Japanese sister city, and I'm running amok right now, so I'm running a little late. But I apologize. But go ahead with the next topic. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Bronson, I had
Yeah,
a quick
go ahead.
question for Sherry. Yeah, a fantastic report, Sherry. I mean, it's all good. On the Beacons Landing, I know that's supposed to open in a few months. The Western Landing, I drove by and saw they finally broke ground. They tore all the buildings down, so that one's coming soon, and it seems that's going to be pretty much the same MO. The prefab units there. Will you be involved? I know you're not the service provider for that Beacons Landing, but you're creating a list. You said you have a waiting list already. Will some of those people be able to also go into the Western Landing?
Yeah, so basically it's all, so as the lead organization, we're doing all the matching, all the local matching.
Okay.
So a couple things that they're doing, they're actually doing what they're calling batch matching, because we just have new terms all the time that I have to keep up with. But making sure that essentially we have either 1.5 to 2 times the units individuals matched to those units. That way we're getting the stuff expedited. I know in working with one of our developers, I didn't realize how much out-of-pocket cost or actually fines that they have to pay if they do not have those units filled by a certain expiration date. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, do you have any idea when Western Landing is supposed to open?
That one I don't know, but as soon as I get that information, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question, Lori. Yeah, it's good to see some PSH sites opening up, or even just affordable housing sites. All right, so just moving on to our presentations. Our first one, we wanted to kind of present to you all. We haven't done a youth presentation in a while, and the youth program's been re-energized by Paola. Am I saying that right? Probably butchered it.
It's Paola, but
Paola, okay.
it's hard. Paula's fine too.
Okay, great. Yeah, you want to take it away and go ahead and introduce yourself? I'll share my screen and put your presentation up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hello everyone. My name is Paula Huerta. I'm the TAY case manager here at St. Margaret Center. St. Margaret Center is an access center located in the city of Lenox. City of Lenox is in between the city of Inglewood and Hawthorne. We're subcontracted by Harbor Interfaith. So Sherry, if I'm missing anything or if you would like to jump in, feel free to do so at any moment. But like Ronson said, today I want to give you guys information on the TAY services offered or available here at St. Margaret Center. So next slide. Okay, so the TAY services at St. Margaret Center offers everything from street outreach to permanent housing. St. Margaret Center covers the northern part of Spot 8, being Lenox, Gardena, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale, West Athens, Alondra, and Del Air. The services are only available to individuals residing in these areas and between the ages of 18 to 24 experiencing homelessness. If they're under 18, they must be legally emancipated to receive services from us. I'm currently working with the community colleges within these cities like El Camino College and LA Southwest College. I'm also connected with the high schools around here, or some high schools around here. I have been receiving a lot of calls from DCFS workers that have individuals residing within these areas. I'm also connected with the THPs here in the cities as well, and connected with our city reps like Dulce, our city reps like Dulce from Hawthorne. Next slide. So I'm sorry, I'm using my phone and my computer just shut down. So we're gonna go based on the slides that I'm seeing. The eligibility for TAY experiencing homelessness are the ones that you see on the screen. So they have to be within category 1, literal homeless, which is again anything within the description that's on there. THP, shelters, and any hotels, motels that are paid by, let's say, by LASA or any, again, local government programs. Category 4, fleeing domestic violence. One thing that I do ask for and that I require to be part of the program, again, to be eligible, is to have the homeless verification. That comes from any organization like shelters or THPs that, or again, people that have observed their homelessness. They have to meet the criteria, their income criteria, which is $42K a year, or what is called a 50% AMI. So next slide. But before meeting the clients, or as I'm meeting the clients, we do the pre-screening for eligibility. Again, I check to see if they're within the categories 1 or 4. We talk about income. We check to see where they're at. They're getting GR, or if they have employment. And we see what their immediate needs are as well. And as we're in this conversation, or as we're talking about just their homelessness or just the situation, I get to see what program best fits for them. So the 3 programs that we have are street outreach, the time limited subsidy program, the TLS program, and problem solving. Again, as we're talking and as we're communicating, these are the this is basically what I'm doing, like my mental notes to see what program best works for that. Next slide. Street outreach is a short-term, well, not a short-term program, but it's a program where I usually put the clients here first, just in case they're missing any documents. So we get them document ready. We get them to, if they need any voucher or the DMV vouchers, if they need their social securities. So we assess immediate needs. If they're currently homeless and need a shelter, a place to stay for tonight, we go ahead and we start that process for connections to local shelters or just the referral on HMIS. The point of street outreach is to officially transfer them or get them enrolled to the TLS program. So that's the main goal for street outreach. Next slide. The time limited subsidy program. So this is the key program. This is the program that I tried my best to enroll clients in, or again, just to provide to anybody that is seeking services. So the program was known before as the rapid rehousing program, now called time limited subsidy program. The assistance, we on the bottom parts of the slide, we go about how we assist with the time limited subsidy program, but it is a 12-month program where we assist financially with a subsidy for a short amount of time. So within that time, we're basically hitting all their targets, all their goals. So the first 3 months we pay rent in full. And in those 3 months, obviously we work together with the clients progressively to be able to get them just ready in general, to get them stabilized in their employment, get them stabilized with documents, get them stabilized with anything, because obviously we do housing first. So once they're housed, everything just comes into place. So we work progressively in those case by case. So after the first 3 months, we start asking. After the first 3 months, so from month 4 to 6, we start asking clients to pay a portion of their rent. So we were going from 100% to paying rent to 75. They pay the 20. Again, the following months, we asked them to pay a little bit more, so then they pay 50, and then we pay the other 50. So by the end of the program, they're paying rent in full. Our goal is for them to be independent at the end of it. So it's an assistance that's temporary. Next slide. And lastly, the last program that we offer is problem solving. Again, this problem solving conversation is happening even from the very beginning, from our first interactions, to make sure to see where it is that we're able to help them, if we're able to help them immediately. If problem solving is a one-time assistance and it's an intervention program. So let's say we do have an individual or a TAE experiencing or about to experience homelessness because they are behind on rent, then we'll go ahead and we'll provide that one-time assistance. But again, problem solving is something we do from the very beginning. If we can do family reunification from the very beginning, then amazing, let's do that. But again, this problem solving is something we're doing from the very beginning. But if they need a one-time assistance, we have that program to offer. Those are the 3 programs that St. Margaret's has. And now we're opening it up to questions.
Great. Thank you, Paula.
No problem.
Any questions? Is there a Tay shelter in Spot 8? I don't think there is, right?
They told me that Sanctuary of Hope has one. A Sanctuary of Hope Mills, but I haven't been able to get in contact with them.
There's
Yeah.
Tay shelters in other spas though, right? Like I think Spot 5 has one.
Yes, and Spa 4 has one. I believe every spa, it's all depending, like I know Spa 7 has one. It's all just, we genuinely we try to do the loss of one, or we send them over to the ones closest to us, like what's Safe Landing, since it is down the street from us.
Great. Sherry?
Yeah, just real quick, we do have Tay Transitional Housing. Our Harbor Interfaith has 4 units, actually apartments, that act as transitional housing. That particular program is focused on higher education. So in this particular case, it could be a Tay had a household between 18 to 24 with a minor child, which we do see a lot of those walking through our doors. But in addition to the area that Paola covered, we also have a DCFS and probation liaison in the youth system. So looking at both foster youth that are aging out of the system, and then also youth that are justice involved. So we work directly with those 2 entities to make sure that we're enrolling them in the CES program. We have a campus peer navigator that works at both LBCC, Long Beach City College campuses, LA Harbor College and El Camino College. And then we're also doing some work too with homeless students either coming from Cal State Long Beach or Cal State Dominguez Hills. So a lot of work going on with that. We do a lot of shared type of housing. And what I mean by that is single family homes that have rooms for rent where they can carry their own lease. Because we know with youth, it is a better setting. One of the things hopefully that we're going to reinstitute this year is kind of having social gatherings too with youth to kind of be roommate speed dating type of situation to get folks excited about housing, but also give them that opportunity to meet potential roommates that they would be living with. So just a couple of things on the horizon.
Great. Thanks, Sherry. Great. Thank you. Well, if there's no other questions, I guess we can move on to our next topic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paola and Jonathan from St. Margaret Center for being here and presenting on that. Councilmember Tanaka, we're going to switch up the agenda really quickly. We have some guests here from the county, and they're going to present on a very important topic, which is the winter shelter program. If you all remember, we all remember last year we had the bomb cyclone, and unfortunately, two of our PEH passed away. People experiencing homelessness passed away in our spa because they couldn't endure the elements. And so the COG opened up some motels just with our own relationships. That's not something we typically do, but just seeing the emergency level and the type of range we were getting, we thought was necessary. So yeah, it's great to see the county getting a head start on it this year. And we have Miguel Fernandez from LASA, right, here to present on the winter shelter program.
That's correct. Hello, everyone. Let me go ahead and project my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, you're up.
Excellent. Okay. So hello, everyone. Well, I just wanted to make sure that just give you a brief update on the winter shelter program. For those of you who may not know, the winter shelter is a short-term site-based 14-hour program. It's emergency response to helping bring people indoors who are or who are at imminent risk of becoming homeless during the winter season. The program typically operates between November the 1st and March 31st. In the winter shelter program, there's actually two components to it. There's a seasonal winter shelter program, which actually consists of congregate site-based that can open overnight, just overnight during November the 1st through March 31st, or can serve as a 24-hour operations from November the 1st through March 31st. We ideally like 24-hour operations, but we recognize that in some facilities it would not be possible. And we want to bring people indoor, particularly overnight. And so we will definitely work to stand up 14-hour operations where that is possible. A second program that is the second component of the winter shelter program is the augmented winter shelter program. This is a 24-hour operation during severe weather events, and we'll talk about what those severe weather events are in a minute. So as I indicated, the augmented winter shelter program is a 24-hour operation. It is only activated and thus is able to take people indoors during severe weather, either because of cold or rain. In the screen that you see before you are the conditions that warrant that the result in the activation of the winter shelter, augmented winter shelter program. The first one is the cold weather conditions, where the county health officer issues a cold weather alert. This is usually done when there's going to be 3 days of low daytime temperatures accompanied by nighttime wind chill temperatures of 33 degrees or less. And when there's raining conditions, particularly when there's a forecasted of 1 inch of rain in a 24-hour period, or 1/4 of an inch of rain over a 3-day period, consecutive days, accompanied by temperatures at below 50 degrees. When these two conditions are met, that we then activate the program, allowing to stand up the augmented winter shelter sites that are going to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days during the severe weather event. The slide that you see before you are the typical services that are offered under each component of the winter shelter program. The first of which is the seasonal winter shelter program, which, as I indicated, is a 14 or 24-hour operation. Basic intake and assessment process, a light touch case management. Individuals going into these congregate settings receive problem-solving interventions, strategies, residential supervision while they're there. Security services are provided, bathrooms and showers. Individuals receive meals, and staff engages in crisis management and the transporting of individuals to and from other resources as they are exiting to other housing options. The augmented winter shelter program has two components to that. We can either stand up a congregate site, which in similar, as I indicated before, is a congregate site that operates 24 hours a day, very similar to the winter shelter, but it's only during the severe weather event that is occurring. And where there is no capacity to stand up congregate sites, augmented winter shelter sites, we will utilize hotel motel vouchers. These are 24 hours. The individuals can come into the hotels. They can stay there throughout the duration of the activation. And obviously they receive showers and bathrooms, meals where it is possible, and transport to and from the hotel as needed. We are approaching the group because we are looking for our city partners, our COGs, to help us identify both facilities that we can use for either winter shelter, augmented winter shelter, either 24-hour, either congregate or non-congregate settings. And we're also approaching you to help us identify social service agencies that are willing and able to operate a winter shelter site or an augmented winter shelter site. And so this is why we're presenting to you. We've engaged right now, we've surveyed over 255 nonprofits. We've only had a handful of agencies that have said that they'd be willing to operate or have the capacity to operate an augmented winter shelter site. And we are aggressively looking to expand that portfolio so that we can make sure that we cover all parts of LA County and with the resources that are needed during a severe weather event. Just for particularly if a city has a vacant property that it owns and it's willing to let us use it during a severe weather event, we're ideally looking for a facility that's a minimum of 6,000 square feet, meets habitability standards, meaning there's no exposed wires, pest infestation, environmental hazards that individuals can be exposed to. There's natural light, there's proper sanitation. Even if the facility itself does not have adequate sanitation facilities, bathrooms and showers for individuals that in the congregate setting, we will be willing to talk about deploying mobile showers and mobile bathrooms to those facilities to be able to use those spaces during activation of the augmented winter shelter or the winter shelter season. Ideally, we're looking for sufficient space to allow for ADA accommodations, i.e. 36 inches apart, putting cots apart, and that the facility is able to comply with local any fire and safety regulations that are active both at the local level and the county level. For example, one of the things we're approaching in the cities is on armories. We reached out to the state. We're identifying several armories that we have either utilized in the past as augmented winter shelter sites. And we are approaching the cities to see if they'd be willing to allow us to host an augmented winter shelter site in these armories during the winter season. And we're looking for your support in this effort, or if not, helping us identify other facilities. And again, other providers that are willing to operate these sites. And so that is what we're coming to you today to ask for your support. Do you have any questions?
Looks like Lori has a question.
Hi, thank you, Miguel. First of all, thank you for the presentation. Please send a copy of the presentation to Ronson and I so we can get this out to everybody and get a bit better reach on that. I had two questions for you. One, do the people going into the shelter have to agree to CES intake to participate? And the second question is, what about inclement hot weather? We have situations where conditions are not livable. It hits 100 degrees outside and people need to be in air conditioning.
Absolutely. To the first question, so as part of the intake process, enrolling in HMIS is a requirement of the program because that's how we show whether people are enrolled in the program or not. And we report back to our elected offices as to how many people we serve, the demographics, and so forth. As you all know, as part of the enrollment in CS, we are changing the CS assessment to the VI-SPDAT. And so whatever process ultimately comes out of that, our staff will work, the teams will work to enroll people in that process so people get linked to permanent housing. With that said, it's important to keep in mind that this particular program is a response to severe weather events, it's a life-saving intervention with the goal of bringing people indoors. It was never designed or staffed or funded to be able to solve a person's history of homelessness. So there's no permanent housing resources attached to this. It is about a life-saving intervention, emergency response that is designed. Now, our elected offices can decide that they want to shift it towards solving homelessness, which will require more resources and so forth and so on. But that's always on the table. We're always happy to support in those spaces. But as it's currently designed, it's not designed in that capacity. To the question of year-round response, that has come up several times. We as LASA are very supportive of this. We recognize that more people die of heat-related events around the world than anything else. The question is really about the political and desires of how the system is going to be built out and obviously the funding associated with it. There have been numerous conversations by the county and the city of how this program can evolve over the next year or so. This last year and this year, we are utilizing building the infrastructure in the event that is a decision point that elected offices make that we can deploy in future years. Last year's experience on the hotel motel vouchers was an example of that, how the flexibility, the challenges, the capacity challenges are all examples of that. And so we're building out, we're identifying what we need to do to build that capacity out to be able to respond year round. In the same way this year, we're building out, approaching you early on. If you notice, this is the earliest we've ever approached you, elected offices, building out the capacity. We want to congregate sites. We want to put these places, these facilities in place. But where we cannot find facilities, we are using hotel motel vouchers because we want to bring our people indoors. We want people to come indoors.
Right. Thank you, Miguel. And you coming out in July at first, I was like, why is he talking to us about winter shelters there? But I think that's a great idea. But the fact is, too, that with global warming, there is no season that you can identify anymore at particular weather conditions. So we can go to a year-round emergency type augmented shelter, or whatever you want to call it. That would make more sense. Thank you very much for the information.
Great. Any other questions?
I'm at the components that we ought to think beyond just the weather events. As an emergency response, we live in Southern California, which ultimately will have a severe earthquake. We are also in a fire season environment. And so there's multiple natural and man-made disasters that can impact our population. And we want to be able to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place in the event that we are ever asked to deploy, that we can immediately respond. We have the infrastructure in place to do so.
Miguel, I think one of the things we want to look at is, at least for the COG, is faith-based organizations. Are you guys making an effort to kind of engage those organizations as well?
Yes, we're actually approached several church-based organizations in several areas, and they've approached us.
Okay.
The key element to this conversation on the faith-based is whether the faith-based is looking to expand their footprint in expressing their faith by building out their ability to run a site, or they're simply just offering their auditoriums or large spaces for us to utilize with the nonprofit. Those are the things that we are working through with the various churches. If you have churches that are willing to do so, please send them my way. Our teams will engage them, talk about what role they'd like to play, and match them with the nonprofit that's willing to operate a winter shelter if that is the role that they want to play, or if they want to build out their capacity to in the future formulate a nonprofit or do this type of work. We're happy to facilitate that and help them build out their capacity in that form.
Great. I think one of the things I wanted to just leave everyone with is from your presentation, my takeaway is that you can be very flexible. So like if a site wants to be just the augmented site, you know, not the winter shelter site, or vice versa, that can be accomplished. If a site only wants to be online for like a month out of the winter, that's possible as well, right? Like I mean, to the extent that it makes sense from a scale perspective, but it sounds like the gist of it is that there's flexibility that can be had with these sites.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have several ideas of how to accommodate particular areas. Let's say you had one building that could only be open for a month, another building for another month in the same geographic area. There's a strategy that I believe would work to accommodate those needs, as long as they're not overlapping. They're not the same months, overlapping months. We'd be able to accommodate because we want to be able to serve the whole population. We recognize that some public buildings are used only for a certain time period and are available to others, and so we have to have the flexibility. So yeah, we're open to all those options to exploring.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming by and presenting this. And we'll definitely get back with you, Miguel, on our list of ideas and places, and we'll be reaching out to our constituents as well.
Absolutely. And the sooner the better. Our goal is to start initiating contracts by no later than August the 1st. We want to have our contracts in place by September. As you, for those of you who are following the news, we anticipate El Nino. If the report is accurate, we should expect a very active season, which may require us to activate sooner than November the 1st. And so ideally, we want to put everything in place ahead of time. That does not preclude us from bringing an agency on board later on. Please feel free to reach out as people reach out to you. We're happy to bring somebody in January if that is when they come on. We have to be nimble and we have to be flexible in our ability to respond to the crisis at hand. Great,
thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions, we can move on to the next one. Councilmember Tanaka, actually, I'm kind of throwing you in a loop here because I got a couple of things moved around. So if you don't mind, I can just go ahead and introduce the next one.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Apologize for that. So on the next thing we want to do is we have a very important announcement to make, but we also want Lori Jacobs to present on this Medi-Cal issue that's come up. The important announcement is, unfortunately, this is Lori's last homeless task force meeting. She is retiring this year in August. And so I'm just with a heavy heart, have to say this is her last meeting. She's been such a great asset. She is moving on she's not, going to be sitting at home. She's going to be very active in the community. As you may know, she's very active with Girl Scouts. And she's also, I'm happy to announce, she's also been nominated, or actually been accepted as a commissioner for, let me pull this up, hold on. It's, I just want to get this right. Let me see. It's Lori. Why don't you just go?
Want me to tell you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, here it is. The Commission on Climate Emergency Mobilization. Let me share this. And so, congratulations, Lori, on that. Your name popped up on the website already.
Yeah.
Lori Jacobs. So you'll be doing that. Just want to say really quickly, when I got into homelessness in 2018, I was basically a volunteer for a year, and I went to all the different community meetings I could attend. One of them was in Wilmington, And they had this neighborhood meeting about building a shelter in Wilmington. And sure enough, you know, it was speaker after speaker of constituents who were just upset about it. A lot of NIMBYs at that meeting. And I was just very disappointed to hear the community react in such a way against helping people who are experiencing homelessness in their community. And you know, there's like 10 people lined up to just speak out against this shelter. And then finally, Lori got up to speak. And she said something that really hit home. She's like, you know, I've been to a lot of these community meetings, and when I drive to one meeting, they say, not here, you know, build it somewhere else. And I go to another meeting, they say, you know, don't build it here, build it somewhere else. And if every community says that, then we can't build it anywhere. And I was like, I said, thank you. Finally, someone's willing to speak up and advocate for those that are experiencing homelessness. And so that was my very first impression of Lori Jacobs. And then and ever since then, you know, we've been in touch. And then when this position opened up for this project manager position that I'm currently sitting in, I think the opportunity to work with Lori was definitely a bonus, and it definitely helped convince me to come to the COG. So Laura, I just want to say you'll be missed, and I'm sure others feel very much the same way as well.
Oh, thank you, Ronson. You're very kind.
Lori, before you say anything, I just want to say that from the COG, Lori's been a major asset. She's helped not only with homeless, but she's done some energy efficiency work. And Lori is one of those people that speaks her mind, and we always appreciate that. And so I know you will continue to speak your mind throughout the community, and I hope you will stay in touch with us so that we can benefit from your impressions and perspectives. So thank you so much, Lori.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Ronson. The COG has been good to me. I started this job a week before the pandemic shutdown. So it was a saving grace for me and just opened up so many opportunities. And I want to share this commission role I got, came out of like left field, and it's going to open up new opportunities to combine what I've learned at the COG, because it's climate action resources helping disadvantaged communities. So between climate action and homelessness, I don't see any two bigger topics that we need to all deal with. So to be able to use the experience and what I've learned on energy efficiency and climate action and work with disadvantaged communities, I hope it's, it's not a paying gig, but I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for everybody here. Yes, I am retiring so I can reevaluate things, but I still will be doing homelessness advocacy and mental health advocacy. So I appreciate all the support. Ronson, you want to go ahead and put up the Medi-Cal? So I wanted to mention this, probably most of you know that the Medi-Cal redeterminations letters went out on April 1st. Do you have that presentation?
Yeah, sorry, I think I might have. Hold on.
Because you're expecting me to like have it memorized.
No, I got it. There you go. Yeah. There you go.
No, that's not. There we go. Thanks. Perfect. Yeah. So during the pandemic, they kind of put a hold on having to redetermine your eligibility for Medi-Cal, and they consider the pandemic pretty much over. So on April 1st, people had to renew this or reinstate it. And for people who are unhoused and didn't have an address, they didn't receive anything in the mail letting them know about this. So there's a lot of people that are going to fall through the cracks here. So you could scroll. I'm going to get to the bottom part where they have the contact information. Yeah, there's 3 ways that people can complete their redeterminations. So online, and I've got a link there to the website. This will be in your meeting notes and on our website. By mail, if you got the packet, you want to return everything. And you need to make sure that you're going to need proof of income, which can either be your last pay stub or a tax form, or there's a phone number that you can call. So we're looking to all of you to share this information. I've made a 1-page simple document so you can get it out to your community members, because what a shame for anybody to lose this benefit. So that's it. And again, thank you, everybody. I probably will attend some of the task force meetings in the future. Yeah, I have to stay in touch. So it's sort of retiring, but I appreciate all the support and the kind words. Thank you, everybody.
I've got a quick question. So Lori, this is great information, especially those that are maybe losing benefits. And then this goes back to the outreach where we're going into our neighborhoods or our cities. Is there an opportunity to share that one slide, if you will, as we do the local outreach with, those unhoused that may need that information?
Yes, I'm gonna send you that information as a one pager, so you can put it in your newsletter, social media, have flyers at any desks where anybody comes in. Yes, we'll provide that.
Okay, thank you, and congratulations again.
Oh, thank you. Hope I know what I'm doing.
I don't think we approved you retiring, did we?
Yeah, there was no motion on that.
Sorry, illegal procedures.
Yeah.
We love you, Larry.
Great. Well, Councilmember Tanaka, I think we're back on track. We're on.
Yeah, so I
agenda
think
item
you're
number
up
4 now.
because you wanted to talk about this really important thing about the homeless count.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We actually have here Eric Vargas from LASA. Eric, it's good to see you. For those who don't know, Eric had the unenviable task of following in Nancy Wilcox's footsteps and organized our spa this year for the homeless count. And he also, at the last minute, jumped in when the San Pedro homeless count lead dropped out. He jumped in and did the San Pedro count and coordinated that. So Eric, welcome. Good to see you again. Yeah, so I'm not going to regurgitate the LASA presentation. If you haven't seen it yet, it's online. You just Google 2023 homeless count LASA. You'll see their slide. You also see a video. It was a very good, concise presentation on the numbers. And yeah, so you can find that there. But basically the takeaway, LA County increased 9.2%. LA City increased 10.2%. Long Beach increased 4.6%, which was a big change from last year when it increased 62%. The South Bay, this number just hit me in the head, 45.7% increase. Yeah, wow, it was just a big increase. And we tried to dig into the numbers and we found some interesting things. One observation we made was spots 5, 7, and 8 had the biggest jumps by far. And when I saw this slide, the slide looks so weird. Spot 1 had a very small change. They typically, have a pretty sizable homelessness population there for the population size of that area. And it just looked funny. And over the weekend, the slide kept bothering me. And then finally had a eureka moment. Spots 5, 7, and 8 had something in common during the homeless count. And that is they did the count on the same night. And so that's why you saw the biggest jump for these spots. It just can't be a coincidence that in other spots where they saw lower to negative counts, the only spots that saw such a huge increase were the spots that counted on the same night. And sure enough, LASA in their press release in January said on night 2 of the homeless count, which was our night, the near real-time synchronization between LASA headquarters and the site coordinators, digital dashboard, and volunteer collection app experienced an outage, basically. And that was true. For a good hour and a half, I was site coordinator at Redondo Beach. I could not communicate from my dashboard to LASA. We cannot submit any data. And what happened was when we tried to submit, we got the spinning circle of death. And so not knowing if it went through or not, we would refresh the page and try to resubmit. And so I think, I'm guessing here, but that might have caused double counting of our regions because of that outage. And so we submitted a ticket today to LASA to look into this because it just can't be a coincidence that our 3 spas had the biggest increases and our 3 spas did the count on the same night. That's just incredulous. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway I have. Some other takeaways though, based on the data that we did see, there was a meeting with cities and COGs with LASA prior to the release of the count. And some of the information we did see is that our core cities, our 15 cities made up of Torrance, Inglewood, Redondo, Hermosa, Carson, Hawthorne, etc. We actually saw a 1% decline in numbers. We did not get the CD15 portion of our SPA. We did not get unincorporated areas of our SPA. So that implies, though, that the CD15 and unincorporated areas of our SPA increased double. Because if we decrease by 1% and the whole region increased by 45%, then that means most of the increase happened in CD15 and unincorporated SPA 8, which again, doesn't quite pass the smell test. They went from 2,210 last year to over 4,000 this year. So that's another number that we're looking into. As I understand it, I don't think the CD15 data has been shared, nor has unincorporated areas of the SPA. So we just don't have that data to confirm this finding. One of the things also is the multiplier had a larger effect this year than other years. So these are the multipliers of the different spots. And how the multiplier works is that when you go out and you count a car. LAHSA does not want you to knock on the window of that car and say, hey, how many people are in there? And so what they do is they say, just count the car. And then when they go back and USC takes the numbers, they apply a multiplier to guess at how many people are in those cars based on a demographic survey that's conducted at a later date in every SPA. And this year, you saw some discrepancies. In SPA 1, if you remember, SPA 1 had the lowest increase. Their multiplier was actually lower than 1. So that meant for every car they counted, there was less than one person inside that car, which is kind of weird. But I mean, I think I'm not a statistician. I'm sure a statistician can come in here and explain that in terms of how that works with statistical theory, but that just seems kind of odd. Our SPA had one of the larger multipliers for both cars, tents, and makeshift shelters. You can see it for tents, most multipliers are at 1.4. That means for every tent they count, there's 1.4 people in it. In our SPA, they counted 1.7 people in the tent. Same with makeshift shelters. So what that implies is when they did the demographic survey, they found that in our SPA, there were more people living in these dwellings than in other areas. This leads me to believe that some of the things we're seeing anecdotally, that just more couples and families falling on hard times, is true, right? There's probably more families in these cars, more families in these tents, and that's why we're seeing more people in them. And that's what's causing some of the increases in our numbers. If you look at year over year, there was an increase as well. Our multipliers in SPA 8 for cars was 1.35 in 2020, 1.09 in 2022. And you see this huge jump in our car multiplier in 2023, 1.67. On average, our multiplier has increased. Based on our calculations, this multiplier effect is a 10% effect. So that means if we had used 2022 multipliers and used our 2023 raw numbers, we would have had a 10% decrease in our homeless count for our South Bay cities. So the multipliers really played a big role. I'm not saying we should use the 2022 multipliers. I'm just saying that this hypothetical increase in the number of families and couples experiencing homelessness is what's causing this increase in numbers that we're seeing. If we just saw the raw numbers, if we were just using raw numbers, we actually saw an unsheltered people experiencing homelessness decline by 15% from 541 to 458, which is terrific. That's what we want to see. We want to see the unsheltered population decrease, and that decreased by 15% this past year. People in dwellings also decreased by 7%. So people in cars, RVs, and tents decreased from 584 to 543. Not people, I'm sorry, the number of cars, RVs, and tents. But then when you apply the multiplier, that's where you get the increase. So based on the raw count, we had about 1,001 people experiencing homelessness in our South Bay cities, or units, because again, the cars, if you're just counting like one car, one RV, one tent, we had 1,001 units of state homelessness. So that's roughly about 67 people per city. Just so that you know how my brain works, if each case manager had a case ratio of 20-1, we would need 50 case managers to service those 1,000 units of homelessness. And so, and just to reiterate, we have over 80 people on SPA 8 care coordination meetings. So there is enough resources, and we've been saying this a long time. Like, if we break down homelessness to our individual cities, we can solve this problem because it's not an incomprehensible problem. These numbers aren't that big. They're pretty small, and we do have enough resources to tackle it. And so, but I do think there's an imbalance between the number of outreach workers versus the number of case managers. And you know, we're looking into how we can maybe have a better balance of that in our SPA. So some of the takeaways that we had for the homeless count is that the SPA 8 multiplies imply there's an increasing number of couples and families experiencing homelessness. SPA 5, 7, and 8 curiously did the count the same night, and curiously all saw the largest increases. We know that during the hours of 9 p.m. and 11 p.m., we were not able to submit data to the system, and this might have accounted for this discrepancy, this statistical anomaly we're seeing in SPA 5, 7, and 8. On the city level, we were seeing some large unexplained fluctuations at the city level. So we support LAHSA's decision not to release city level data until numbers can be verified. So usually during the homeless count presentations, they do release city numbers and a city dashboard. They did not do that this year. And so we support that because we did see large fluctuations that we couldn't really explain. Again, it could be because of this outage that we saw at 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Some other just tidbits, you know, the pick count for years had been paper and pencil. We would have people with maps go out, write down using pencil how many people they saw. In 2022, we transitioned to a new app, which, you know, anyone who's developed apps knows it can be very buggy. I mean, you just have to look at, you know, President Obama's Obamacare launch, right, and see how buggy that was. And then not only did we launch a new app in 2022, but we launched another new app in 2023. So there was a lot of changes, and you know, we think like these changes, you know, will definitely cause some fluctuations. There's going to be a growing process whenever you adopt a new app or a new technology, and so we feel that may have an effect on the numbers as well. Just some further takeaways. I really like this slide that LAHSA presented because it really shows that this homelessness is not a SPA 8 problem or a Los Angeles problem. It's a nationwide problem. And you can see some of the numbers there. You know, basically we're seeing this trend that, you know, the UCSF studied, and they just had a release of the report that showed that one of the main reasons people fall into homelessness is because of loss of income. And the median monthly household income preceding homelessness was only $935 a month. And the average monthly rent in LA is $2,452. So incomes, you know, we've known this for years, and we're really seeing this play out on our streets, is incomes are not keeping pace with rents. And so, you know, one of the biggest takeaways is we do need more affordable housing, more supportive housing, more housing in general. And then lastly, I think this is very important because the numbers are increasing, but we need to understand why the numbers are increasing. And this is like an old slide that I've used for a couple of years now. And I just want to remind people of this slide. So how the numbers work is there's an estimated number of 600,000 rent burdened people. These are the COGS estimates based on previous years. So 600,000 rent burdened people, and this is LA County. So an estimated 15% of those rent burdened people fall into homelessness every year. So that's 90,000 new homeless people in LA County. You add the last year's homeless count with 69,000 people. So now you're at 159,000 people, right? Then during the course of the year, 60,000 people self-resolve. This is very, very important because a lot of times I hear from constituents, you know, why don't people just move? If it's too expensive to live in LA, why don't they just move from here? And they do. 60,000 people self-resolve their homelessness. They reunite with family members, they move, you know, or they find a job, you know, they do something to cure themselves of the experience of homelessness. And then through our rehousing system, we house 23,000 people in LA County. So that's how you get to the LA County count of 76,000 people. That's roughly how it works. So just want to stress that. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Bronson, I can't see the hand, so if you see some, can you just go ahead and call them out?
Yeah, I've got a
Any
question,
questions?
Bronson. You mentioned the number, verifying the numbers, if you will. How are they going to do that and when?
We don't know. There have been a number of requests, just even from our own SPA, from cities that wanted to do a deeper dive in their count. And then we know that other regions are making similar requests. So it's safe to say that LAHSA is having a lot of requests. And so we don't know when they're going to get to some of these requests in meetings. So we don't know that. Typically, how it works in other years is that we kind of work behind the scenes and we give them our observations. LAHSA, they do make some minor changes, but there typically isn't really any major revisions that go on after the count is released.
Okay, I mean, I can use Lomita as an example. Our last count was 22. I think we could reach out to our sheriff's department. They would say, hey, what do you think the count is? And they'd probably give a reasonable number. And it goes back to your observation on whether there's a potential error in the counts. If it comes back and says, hey, Lomita's got 30 or 40, pick whatever number that may be, a 45% increase, I think the sheriff's department relatively easily and the citizens of Lomita would say, it's not that big. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what you were poking on as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and in some of our cities, I think Lomita is definitely one of them where we saw, like, if you were to tell me a city increased the homes count by 20% last year or 25%, I'd say, okay, that sounds reasonable because we lost our pandemic relief, money. We lost, inflation went up, the eviction moratorium ended. And so at 20%, and then just based on the number of phone calls like Lori and I are getting this year and just some anecdotal evidence, like a 20% increase feels right. But then when you go up to like a 40% increase, then you're like, okay, something's wrong here. And I think that's what we're seeing. Now for the city of Lomita and like other cities like Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, I would caution against using percentages because, when you're at 20 people and you have 5 new people become homeless, that's a 25% increase. So I think the small numbers are misleading. So Lomita can see 5 additional people fall homeless, but that could represent a 25% spike. So yeah, I would just caution our smaller cities from using percentages because a small change can alter the percentage quite a bit.
Got it. Thank you.
Other questions?
Lori, did you have a question?
Yeah, a couple things. So I live in San Pedro, part of CD 15. I don't have my numbers. I can't tell my stakeholders anything. And from what Ronson just presented, one would deduce that that the CD 15 portion of SPA 8 increased by 300% or something to get to the numbers they're at. And I don't think that's true. So that's a little frustrating. And I plan to reach out to my council member to see if he can shake something loose on that. But I want to point out one thing that was on one of the slides that Ronson shared. And that's that the only major city in the United States that has experienced a decrease in homelessness and a consistent large decrease is Houston, Texas. And I've studied that. And Houston, for the most part, doesn't have anything called interim or transitional housing. To them, housing first means that people go straight from the street into real housing. If they have substance use issues or mental health issues, then they go into housing that deals with that. So I just want to put that thought out there. And I realize we're a much bigger city than Houston, although they're pretty large. That imagine if we didn't spend so much money on all these temporary shelters and we could get people right to real housing, how much less need we would need for case managers and follow-up work and the amount of money we're spending on having a temporary Band-Aid, to me personally, is kind of insane. So I just wanted to point out that we need to find models that are working in other parts of the country and present them to our legislators and to the powers that be. That's my commentary.
Thanks. A good commentary. Other questions?
Don't
No?
see any other hands up.
Okay. So that really kind of puts our counts into perspective, Ronson, so we appreciate that. And we do kind of look forward to our numbers to see what that really pans out to be. But we will now let you move on to homeless services update.
Yeah, I actually have an update on the Blue Ribbon Commission. I haven't had a lot of time to really dig deep into it, but I want to just get some quick takeaways on the most recent Blue Ribbon Commission report that came out, on just some select directives and what the status of those are. So the first one is to create a county entity and county leader. And so the homeless initiatives, they're actually working on this, and they're actually hiring up 20 new staff in anticipation of staffing this new entity. And so the next step on this is they're going to finalize the recommendations on this and the costs for this. Another sub-directive of this is the formation of regional committees. HI interpreted this as a quarterly regional convening meeting to discuss regional issues. And I guess in the last meeting in June, we only had a handful of attendees. We believe this is a misinterpretation of the directive, and I've let HI know from the start. We think the operative word here is committee, not convening. And so we'd like to see this more of a committee, a regional committee, in which we are providing feedback and ideas to HI on a regular basis. And so this is something that is still work in progress, I'd say, and we're talking to HI about that. Increased Measure H funding to local jurisdictions. So we've seen an increase this year of $1.2 million to $2 million in our COGS, and overall they've increased the bucket for all the COGS in cities. We're going to continue to seek more money, though, especially to fund our city-funded shelters and homeless case management activities. But the county is taking a step in the right direction and increasing our funding for Measure H to help us tackle our city's homeless issues. They want to review and revise existing goals and metrics. This is a big undertaking right now. They're working with the Chief Information Officer and the California Policy Lab to develop a work plan, and it's really multifaceted. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done, including merging different databases, identifying the key performance indicators, there's just, it's clear from what I'm hearing, there just wasn't the structure before to accommodate this, and so they're trying to put the structure in place now to really develop a better data regime and sharing of data with the cities. And so we're going to continue to advocate for data metrics at the city level. And I think even going further, we feel like a by names list approach really makes a lot of sense for a lot of our cities, especially ones with small homeless counts. Transitioning outreach from LAHSA, it's not even just outreach, there's other strategies they want to transition from LAHSA. And so HI is evaluating transitioning 7 strategies from LAHSA to the new entity. So it's going from LAHSA to the new entity that's forming, and that includes the outreach part. So that's still being worked on. CLC urbans, this is a big one. And so this is a good thing to see. So one of our complaints during the Blue Ribbon Commission is the cities and COGs did not have a seat at the table. So they're going to carve out 1 seat on the LAHSA Commission. LAHSA Commission is made up of 10 seats, 5 for LA City, 5 for LA County. We're going to take 1 to LA County seats and have a city and COG representative on that LAHSA Commission. And then the LAHSA Commission is going to then oversee the CLC and the CES policy councils, which is great. So then now we have oversight over the CLC and the CES, and that's what we wanted. So that's good. And then the last thing is they're still looking at forming this 10-person executive level action team. The Hilton Foundation and Weingart are leading the way to develop a committee made up of elected officials from cities in LA County who would develop 1 plan, align funding, and provide oversight for the homelessness initiatives. So that's the update there on the Blue Ribbon Commission. Any questions?
Well, it sounds like they have a lot more to do. Do they have kind of a target that this might be put into place?
Yeah, I think from the last meeting, it sounded like some of these things were ready for a supervisor motion. But then some of the other things like the county entity is going to take a little longer for them to set up. I think even before this report, I think there were people saying it would take 1 or 2 years to create a new county entity. Basically they're starting like a new DMH, for example, from scratch. And so that's going to take a little longer. But certain things, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are certain things that they could do at board motion right now and start.
Okay. Yeah. Other questions?
Just a quick comment too. So with outreach transitioning from LASA, we've already seen that the funding for this fiscal year 23-24 has already been moved away from as a line item. Conversations are going on as we speak that it will now be overseen by DHS. And the other part too about, I actually sit on the COC board. We continue to report to the commission. It is done by a LASA representative that is just kind of an overview of all the work that we're doing with the HUD direct funding through the NOFO. So that is always reported up to the commission, and the commission can give any feedback or guidance that they feel is appropriate.
Thanks, Sherry, for that clarification.
Yeah. Others? Care court?
Just briefly, the care court one. So they did identify the court that will be holding this. We're still on track for the county to be online December 1st. And the court is going to take place in Norwalk, the Norwalk court. They will offer a virtual opportunity so that if people from, say, Hollywood or even Spy 8 can't make it out to Norwalk, there will be a virtual opportunity. But it's still, work in progress, and they're moving to get that care court started on December 1st.
Okay. And I think we've already done the Medi-Cal redetermination. So you want to move on to health first aid, mental health?
Yeah, this is just, hold on, let me open it up. Yeah, these are just first aid training, mental health first aid trainings that are occurring, and we'll send this out. So this is be a really quick update that people can take. It's put on by the National Council of Mental Wellbeing, and these are some of the dates of their upcoming trainings to provide mental health first aid work.
Okay.
So it's 2 hours of self-paced online pre-work and then live virtual training led by their instructors. So it's a little bit of a time commitment. It's a full day class, and there's a 2-hour pre-class. So, I've done something like this before with the sheriff's department. It's very, very helpful in what I try to do, and whenever I engage with PEH, they'll teach you things like how do you, sometimes what you have is like people experiencing mental psychosis. Like how do you ground them back to reality? Things like that. I was able to learn how to interact with people that are going through that, and so that was really helpful for me. And so, yeah, I encourage anyone to take this if you're interested in that.
Bronson, there's another one for youth mental health training, and that's for anybody. You don't have to be necessarily in a professional field, but teachers, counselors, anybody who's working with younger people, Girl Scout leaders, etc. And that flyer will be there too.
Yeah, because I think everybody's really looking forward to having those 2 flyers so that they can get that information dispersed out, and hopefully people will start.
Got it.
Okay, so thanks. Any other questions for Ronson on homeless services? Okay, we have legislative updates. Do you have anybody? No
We have
hands?
Jimmy Gao. Jimmy, do you have something from Assemblyman Marisucci's office?
No, I can just share real quickly that of the 10 bills that we have over in the Senate. The one that would be appropriate for the Homeless Service Task Force is AB 67, and that has a hearing in the Senate Public Safety Committee on July 11th.
Thank you. Any other? Jackie, I can't see any hands, so if you'll help me out.
I don't. Yeah,
Paul Stansberry. I did want to mention, this may be of interest to, there's the bill on gravely disabled from Senator Eggman, Senate Bill 43, which may have some impact or discussion on the homeless outreach. There's also Senate Bill 326, which is regarding the modernization of the behavioral health system. Having to do a lot of issues with that. And then later that was the AB 531, which had to do with the big bond issue for next year, $4.68 billion for housing in California. So those are things that I just maybe of interest. We've been following with the NAMI group with that process with that.
thank you. We will look up those bills, but I wanted to mention that we already have a support position for AB 67, excuse me, Assemblyman Marisucci's bill. So you said it's going to be heard soon. And we've sent a letter to the Public Safety Committee. So, okay, so we have that position. I don't see, I'm looking on our matrix and I don't see the others. We'll look into them and see if we should be adding them to our monitoring or support positions. Thank you very much. And if anybody ever sees legislation that they think the COG should look at, just send me an email and we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews has his hand up, Mr. Chair.
Hey there. I just wanted to give everyone the update that the unincorporated area of East Gardena, West Rancho Dominguez, the Broadway corridor is about to be cleaned up with the RVs. And this particular street has about, I think we have 270 RVs just on the Broadway corridor. So you may see an influx of RVs coming into some of the South Bay areas. We're trying to attract them when they leave, but everyone needs to be aware this cleanup will be all next week.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Janet Turner's also here now, Ronson, for legislative, or Rodney, whoever's leading.
Janet?
Hi, I have a new computer and obviously it's not using my video, but you can hear me, so.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, wait a minute, it's allowing my camera. Let's see. Come on. Oh, well, never mind. I don't want to take up too much time. My picture may suddenly pop on. So, the congressman actually has 4 bills that he's reintroducing to address homelessness. One is his Fighting Homelessness Through Services and Homeless Act, which addresses the root causes of homelessness by authorizing $1 billion for 5 years to fund supportive housing models that also provide services. He also has his Prevent Evictions Act, which creates a grant program for state and local governments to administer landlord-tenant mediation programs. And then he has his Prevent Homelessness Act, which provides a house stabilization fund to most Americans who would be at risk of homelessness. And then his Housing for All Act, which would invest nearly $532 billion over 10 years to address affordable housing shortage and the homelessness crisis. So as what happens in Congress is that if something doesn't pass in the previous session, they reintroduce it. And so these are the ones that he's working on again. The congressman takes homelessness as a very serious problem that needs to be addressed from all levels of government. And he wants to make sure the federal government is doing their part as well. And of course, many of you already know that he got more than $13.5 million in federal funding to help some of the various cities with some of their homeless programs. So always good to see you. Lori, we will miss you so much, and thank you for all of your hard work. It's greatly appreciated, but I am sure we are going to see you around, girl. So, best of luck.
Thank you, Janet.
Thanks, Janet. Okay, do we have any others? legislative updates?
I don't see any others.
Okay, Jackie, how about some COG stuff?
Okay, well, COG stuff, like I said, if you have legislation, and Janet, if there's pending things that you want letters of support on, we can, please send me the bill numbers and we'll investigate them. But we have our board meetings, our next two board meetings. We're going to be hearing about energy efficiency and the sanitation Clearwater project in July. But in August, we're going to be hearing from a speaker who is coming from the LA 28 Olympics and Paralympic Games. So that should be pretty interesting. One of the issues that I'd love to get your advice and counsel on is it's time for us to be thinking of the theme and the topic for the 2024 General Assembly, which will be in March. And so the steering committee will have their first discussion of it this coming Monday. But one of the things about our General Assembly is, first of all, we want it to be very relevant to the South Bay. And secondly, we don't want it to be a conference that you're getting all these, same subject over and over and over again. So something unique and special that other people aren't really looking at. We might take Ronson's whole thing about how they do a homeless count. But anyway, we would love to get your advice and thoughts about a General Assembly that you'd love to attend. As far as anything else that's going on, I think I really have no big updates for you. If any of you are interested in RENA, which is the regional housing allocation that gives cities out their numbers, SCAG is having a meeting of one of its committees, the Community Economic Development Committee, on August 16th, which will be a Zoom meeting. And I think we also show it in our office, but you have to let us know if you want to come. And they're going to discuss recommendations for the next cycle of RENA. So once again, that would be virtual or in our office, and you can always check the SCAG website. But if you want to come to our office, please let somebody in the office know. I think that's it, Rodney, and thank you. Oh, and we do have new officers, and Rodney is now our first vice chair. And very briefly at the beginning of the meeting, Cedric Hicks was here from Carson, but Cac Lee, who is his representative, has been here and listening to this meeting, which is we're really thrilled about. And then our second vice chair is Bernadette Suarez from Lawndale. So we do have new officers, and we're looking forward to working on a brand new year starting July 1.
I don't know. I still don't think I let Lori go. That's that's one of those things. Okay. Does anybody at all on this Zoom have any announcements they want to make? No.
Is
Dave?
this,
Oh, Jim.
is this general announcements?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'd like to invite everyone who's interested in a town hall by Assemblymember Almer Suchi in Manhattan Beach on Saturday, July 15th in the morning. So any and all are welcome to attend. And there's more information on our website. And I think in my post on the chat, I included that at the end. So come on out, July 15th.
Okay. We'll make that announcement. Thank you. Any others?
This is Councilman Alex Montero.
Good, Alex.
Hi. So I want to say, Lori, thank you very much, because we did have some very light conversations on housing and affordable housing, especially in our meetings during this General Assembly. So you are very well known of information. So definitely we're going to miss you, but we will cross paths again, right? And good luck on your commission position. And I think that's the best thing to do in environmental and global warming. So you'll be well represent there for all of us. So thank you for everything you have done for this past, at least 3, 4, 5, almost 4 years, right? So thank you very much. So you've been the blessing to us. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. Appreciated.
Okay, anybody else?
I just want to let you know that August 3rd is my actual last day. So I just won't be on another task force meeting. So, but I'll be here until then, and
okay,
I'll stay in touch.
Well, being a part of Skid Row and all the things that we all know and that we discuss, you will totally be missed here. So I understand Ronson's feelings and my feelings about, not having you on this task force, but don't be a stranger. We expect you to kind of visit us every once in a while.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So hearing nothing else, we will adjourn to our next meeting on 6 September. And if you see on the bottom of the agendas, we also have meetings on January 4th, March 1st, May
No,
3rd.
Those are
Nope.
2023. You have
Oh.
to start, we should
Oh,
take
I'm
off.
sorry. So, okay.
Yeah.
So we're September 6th. So we'll see you on September 6th and then November 1st. Okay. All right. So hearing nothing else, thank you all. Sorry I was late, but again, I have Ichikawa delegation here and I'm running amok this week.
Oh my
So,
God.
but love you all and have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.